Hi everyone, welcome to the sitting room. So what you'll see behind me here is a floor that's had its carpet removed. There was actually a hardboard layer as well which we removed, and I've taken all the nails out of the floor that were holding the hardboard down. My plan is to insulate under this floor using some Celotex insulation board, a foam board that you can buy. There are various different types, but Kingspan and Celotex are the two main ones. Before we start this project, what we really need to do is think about what we're actually wanting to do, because if you're putting boards down, you've got to take all of the floorboards up, and while you're doing that, there might be other things that you could do while you're there. So, for example, there might be some rewiring you want to do, or you might want to change where your radiators are, over there's an aerial cable for the TV. Perhaps that's not the right place for it. So give some thought to what you might do while you've got the floor up. The video today, I'm just going to show you how I go about lifting a floorboard, and then I'll show you what it's like under the floor, and then we'll see if we can stitch together other videos about how to lay the flooring, lay the insulation, and how to seal the floor so that no air can then get through, and then obviously relaying the floorboards afterwards, which is fairly straightforward. But try and keep it sweet and short, and edit out big chunks of work. But first thing, lift the floor up. So here we go. I've already done some, I'll show you in a minute. These are the tools that I use. We've got a crowbar with two different ends. That's a big one, that. We've got a small crowbar here. The most important tool of all, a bolster, so it slides between the boards, and a claw hammer. So we have here a board that has an end and a gap. I'm going to work between the joists, between the boards with the bolster. What we're trying not to do here is we're trying not to bruise the edges of the board, so it's very gentle work. Now in from both sides. Bit of wiggle. There we go. Jolly good. Now I can work my way back. Lift the board. Now a lot of the nails are probably pulling through, some will be snapping off. These are 100 years old, some of them are rusty. They're all probably rusty. That board, you can see sitting flat on top of the other. There are no nails in the board at all. In this case, all of the nails are sticking out of the joist. They're still there, exactly where they were, and they just pulled through the board. You can see where the holes are in the board. That's fine. I can take these nails out of here using a claw hammer or the end of this nice crowbar here. Hopefully. Top of that one's just given up on me. Let's try this. Top of that one's snapped off. It's actually stuck in there. Not very helpful. Come out, which you can see they're very rusty. They're old sort of clout nails that have been stamped out of metal or steel long time ago. There we go. So I'm going to keep taking these out. Those that I can't take out, I may have to snap off. Back and forth a few times and it's just snapped off. That's fine. And what I'm then going to do, once there's no nails, make sure they're flush if there's any sticking out, and we then get a stiff brush and sweep off any dust on the joists. Then we're left with nice clean joists. The other thing we need to do is make sure that these boards are stored in nice clean condition, ready to reuse later. When I relay these, they won't be in exactly the same places. They're all going to be moved up so there's no gaps between them, because that will be neater and less likely to show them through the carpet after the carpet's laid. So there's quite a lot of dirt here along this edge where these boards have been laid, with a gap between them that's, you know, sort of as they've shrunk over the years, the gap's been created, air goes through, dust collects. So I'm going to scrape this off. Okay. So the edges are clean, ready to go ahead. I'll do that on both sides. This board's actually got a piece missing underneath. It doesn't matter, it still works. Like it 100 years, I'm sure it'll be fine. And I'll do that all the way along. All the way along where this was, I'll remove the nails, I'll clean the board, and then I'll store the board. Now, in terms of what I've done so far, I'll just quickly show you what I've done so far, before I then go on and take up the rest. Let's have a quick look. So all of these boards I've cleaned, all of the nails have come out. It's taken me most of the day to do this half of the room, and it'll take me another day to do the other half of the room. You'll see I've protected the fireplace. I don't want the wood burner to be damaged. Some of these are quite tricky to get out at the edge. Obviously when the floor was laid, the skirting was laid was fitted afterwards on top of the boards. So getting them out from underneath the skirting is quite tricky. In my case, I was quite lucky in that the nails were actually quite rusted and they snapped when I tried to pull it out, so that was quite handy, but beware, that might be a problem for you. Right, so once we get to this place, now we're thinking, what's the condition like? Is there any rot? Is there anything where the damp-proof course has got any rubble above it, so you might have damp problems? Are all the surfaces where they should be? Do a really good inspection of what we've got in this subfloor void and actually see if what we're seeing is good. You can see the water pipe there for the house comes through here, and there's some cabling and there's some rubble, big pile of rubble there that potentially is over the height of the damp-proof, so we might clear that out. And then, we're really talking about what we're going to do to improve this space before fitting the insulation and then relaying the floor. You can see Mrs. Wardell's been stripping, and the walls are getting ready for redecorating. So well done, Mrs. Wardell. So there we go. The flooring's up, and I'll take up the rest of it, and then we'll look at insulating. Right, so where you're looking at now is from between two of the joists. You can see the joist on the right here is a new joist. Some of the joists I've had to replace because they were rotten, others are the existing ones. You're actually sitting on a piece of timber that's been replaced as well because that was rotten. So what we're going to do is put some battens in. I thought you probably see it best from there. I've got a couple of battens which I've cut to the right length. And these are going to go into here, nice smooth surface on the top. And the Celotex or sort of PIB insulation board is going to sit on top of these once they're installed. So I'm going to fit one of these to each side of every batten, and then the board will sit on top of them. And I'm using 75mm board, so it's going to take up most of the distance that's left. So these are 125mm timbers. These are I think 40mm battens, so 40 off 125, you get 85 or thereabouts. 85. Anyway, it works out that there's the 75 is stood down a bit from the top, which leaves a little air gap beneath the boards, and I'll put silver tape on the top. You'll see all that later, but for now, let's fit the battens. I'm not going to show a video of me fitting all the battens because frankly that's a little bit boring, and if I did it would be time lapsed anyway. So I'm not going to bother, just going to do these two to show you what it's like. Now, I've got some screws which are called flooring screws, but I can't actually fit my drill in here, so I'm going to see if I can reduce the length of the drill by taking the bit out of the holder, putting it directly into the drill. Could use a little screwdriver instead, that would do it. Obviously a hand screwdriver if you wanted. I'm not piloting these because these screws actually have a shank that's clear at the top of them, so they'll pull in clear at the end anyway. So we'll put one in close to you here, because you're right near the end. Do the other one as well, just to hold it out of the way. Oh. Now I'm going to do these at regular intervals, which for me is going to be the length of the drill and the screw. which is about what I want it to be. This doesn't have to be particularly accurate, but these need to be supported all the way around, so that they're held against the joist, prevent an air gap, and make sure they don't sag. Oh, that's a long way down. There we go. Nice extra way of being able to hold the joist down too. So wind a few screws in to the bearers, nice and keep it all nice and rigid. And there we go. Job done. I'm going to go and carry on doing the rest. You have a cup of tea, and we'll come back and do the next bit. Right, hi guys, we're back again. As promised, I didn't show you the video of me putting battens everywhere, but as you can see, there are now battens against each side of all of these joists. Some of the joists I've had to replace, so the two over the far side there you can see are nice and new. There is also a new one at this end of the room because it was rotten in places, so I've replaced it. I've doubled up some where they had notches in them, so I was concerned about the weakness in them. And I've redone the area over the far end. The supporting pieces underneath have been replaced because they were rotten, and that's actually still loose, so that this here can be lifted out so that the Celotex can go behind it when I start installing it around it, because it's actually, I've still got the skirting boards in place, so it's quite difficult to drop Celotex in at the edges. So if you can move the joists out to put the Celotex in and then fix the joists, that's a great way to do the edges. Now, there's been some recabling work in this room and some plumbing improvements, so the insulation on those heating pipes over there are tidied up. You can see various cables that are ready to second fix, so there's been some rewiring going on. Don't do rewiring unless you're a qualified electrician, or at least you have a qualified electrician working with you that can help you do it in a compliant way. And right, so over here we have a pile of Celotex. I've chosen 75mm board because that's a really good fit for the 125mm joists that I have. It's a compromise. Current building regulations would say use more than that. I think it's 125mm, but you'd have to check. It does change over time, but this isn't enough to satisfy current building regulations. It's a compromise for this house, which I'm retrofitting it to. I want the air to circulate under the Celotex but over the dwarf walls. Even though there are holes in the dwarf walls, I still want that ventilation to be there, and I want circulation of air around under the joists, and at the ends of the joist where the joists sit near to the walls. I want the air to be able to go underneath the Celotex to the perimeter to make sure that it stays dry. So very much a compromise, but 75mm of board that's sealed should be a really good improvement. Now, to cut the Celotex, some people use saws. My weapon of choice is a carving knife. I've just sharpened this one. This is a very narrow, thin blade carving knife, which means that when it's passed through the Celotex, it doesn't push the Celotex apart too much, and so it doesn't attempt to crack the Celotex. And that's really quite important, and it means it doesn't waver and go offline as well. Silicon sealant. I've chosen brown because I can see it easily. You won't see any of it when the floorboards are down, but that's to seal the Celotex to the walls and to seal at the ends of the joist to the walls as well. So we want a fully sealed floor afterwards. I have self-adhesive foil, which will be going from the Celotex over joist onto Celotex, so we have a complete foil surface at the end, so you'll see the foil on the Celotex will continue over the joist with foil tape. I've got a straight edge, in fact I've got a couple of straight edges that I'll use to do it. So what I'll do is I'll fit a piece and show you how easy that is, and then maybe we'll fast track the rest of it. So there we go, let's swing it around a bit, and I'll measure up and cut the piece. I'm going to go for an easy one to start with. That's over here. So it's 300 at the end, there's 307 there, and now we're about 8 feet away, it's 317 here, so it's getting bigger, so none of these are going to be the same, so I'll replicate that over here. Two. In Celotex they actually put lines, which is really helpful. It helps you to understand whether you're doing things in the right way or not. And obviously if you're cutting parallel, very useful. Try not to cut your fingers off. It's painful. A little bit oversized. See, I like a little duster brick cutting around that. Be a bit slower, but no dust. So this now fits between the joists, but what I need to do is put some sealant on the end of it before it goes into the far end. Now I'm going to seal along the bottom edge of it, where it hits against the wall, and then I'll seal along the top edge as well, so if there is a gap at all, hopefully it'll be sealed top and bottom so air can't get up around that end. Also going to put some sealant around the joists while I can get them. lastly, just to make sure, bit of sealant all the time. Okay, so that piece is done, ready for the tape to go on. What I'll do is I'll set you up and I'll do the rest. See if we can speed things up a bit. Right, so this is the sort of effect that you can see building up. Done these 4. That was one sheet did 3, and then there was a little bit that I've used on the front. You probably noticed there. If we took a look at the back here, you can see that these are sitting on top of the buttons, so you get a nice airtight seal between the buttons and the board. The weight of the board sits on the buttons, that creates an airtight seal, and obviously the tape on above will stop them lifting as well. So hopefully that provides the level of insulation and sealing that I want. I'll carry on with the video and fast track the rest, and then I'll show you the foiling part as well. Right, this insulation layer is now complete. You can see behind me, there it all is. Rather smart. What we need to do now is put some of this self-adhesive aluminium foil tape over the joist so that we create a whole layer of aluminium across the whole room, which creates an airtight seal when combined with the silicone, which goes around the edge. If I pop you down here, you can see the silicone that's running along the edge here. Hopefully, maybe you can get a bit closer. There we go. So it goes all the way along, and that was at 2 heights against the edge, sealing the bricks to the timber. What I'm going to do with this is put it over the top of the timber onto the foil of the Celotex each side. So as I say, it's a self-adhesive, so you've got a paper backing, and on top there's aluminium with adhesive already on it. We'll start this off. Let's just get that to the other side of you. I'm going to put this in the middle of the joist. Quite carefully put the end down so that I've got it where I want it. You can see that that's, hopefully you can see that that's now over the end of the joist there. The hole is ties at one end and here across the middle of the joist, and I can then just pull out the paper like so, and that can then flatten down, stick down either side. What you end up with is this nice continuous layer all the way across. Obviously fixing the joist down will penetrate through the foil, but it will be clamping the floorboards to the, fixing the floorboards down, it will be clamping the floorboards to the foil, so it's not going to create any air gaps or leakage. There we go. So you can see how that's now creating a continuous layer of foil all the way across, and we'll continue with this all the way across the room. I'll do the rest a bit quicker. So there we go, the insulation's down, the taping is complete. Next job is to get the floorboards back down, so I'm going to be screwing those down, and I'll get those done fast too. Let's fast track it. And there we have it. The room is complete, but as you can see, I've skipped a bit of video there. This carpet is a very good quality woolen carpet. There's also the most expensive underlay I can buy underneath here. This is a really nice sort of quality feel to it. It's also really thermally very insulative, so it's adding to the Celotex that went underneath the floor. Makes a really nice finish and a really nice room as well. A few other bits to do, but we're decorating and
soon enough it'll be back to the old sitting room it was, but with a great new feeling. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll make a few more videos. Cheers.